What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts today, Martin Cheney, joined by my other co-host, Justin Adams. Justin, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Good. Had a good little time at my birthday yesterday.
That's right.
Last second
Happy
bowling
belated
adventures.
birthday.
Cut my finger on ping pong and the little arcade basketball game. So, but I
Hey, yo,
survived.
you go to like Dave and Buster's or something?
What's that?
Did you go to like Dave and Buster's or something?
Went to this place downtown.
I
Like
gotcha.
eight,
I gotcha. All
10
right.
bowling and billiards.
Before we get into the NFL day, we're gonna cover a little bit of that wacky conference championship of college football on Saturday, um, and then we will move into our NFL slate of games today. I want to see a lot of touchdowns today, that's for sure. We're gonna go over our starts of the week for each position in regards to fantasy football, our NFL Week 13 parlays of the day, as well as our sleepers of the week, whether or not they're waiver wire ads or someone you're looking for a spot start. We got you. Also, we're going to be answering questions that you guys are going to be dropping down in the chat. So don't hesitate if you have a start sit question, if you have any question regarding fantasy football, or really any question regarding football in general. If you want to get our take on, I don't know, the likelihood of the Seattle Seahawks trading away Russell Wilson, doing better than the Denver Broncos, and still getting a third overall pick. Hey, if you want our take on it, by all means, drop that in the chat, and we will definitely go ahead and get those questions answered for you. So, without further ado, let's get into college football on Saturday. It was an absolutely insane weekend for the college football playoff potential matchups. We're going to go ahead and let's jump right into the first game. USC and Utah. Utah ended up taking care of business again, the bane of USC. Justin, what were your thoughts on USC falling short of the college football, well, seemingly falling short of the college football playoff?
Yeah, it seems Utah has
Justin, I believe you are muted.
is that better?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Got it. Am I good volume?
Yeah, it's a little quiet, but I can hear you.
All right, just
We'll
for
start.
that. Yeah, so what I was gonna say is basically it was the the way Utah's got USC seemingly figured out. I don't know what it is, but they were giving Caleb Williams fits all game. And they had it to the point and I mean I know he was injured later, like later in the game he was really banged up. But in the beginning of the game, they still were scheming perfectly to where he was really second guessing his throws in the pocket and stuff like that. So it was interesting to see the game plan they came out with. It seemed like that DC had them figured out after, of course, they did get up a little bit, and then Utah made some adjustments, and then it was just he couldn't do anything against them. I know he lost the ability to run the ball. That's tough because that's one of his main keys, to what he does. But I don't know if he's 100% that like they win that game still. I think Utah just had something figured out on that offense and that offensive scheme. Because again, it's hard to beat a team 2 times in the same year, and, especially a team of that caliber, and they did, and they Utah and their coaching staff looked like they had confidence. Like, it was almost like they knew something, like, they were expecting to win that game. I mean, I know you always expect to win that game, but they weren't phased one bit by, Caleb Williams or that offense, and USC can't stop the run to save their life. Um, that defense is, I mean, it's a Pac-12 defense, so you know, can only do so much with those.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because I mean I definitely agree. Utah has USC's number, and it's been like that for for a while now.
Hmm.
We saw it earlier in the season. That was the only game in the regular season that USC lost. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. Uh, Cam Rising, quarterback of the Utah Utes, in his long hair flow and glory,
Tough as nails.
actually, what was that?
I say he's tough as nails, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He took an absolute devastating hit, popped right back up, picked his helmet up off the ground,
Yep.
and continued to go out there and do what he needed to do. So, but that's what college football is all about, right? Those teams that you don't really see coming, and then they just blindside you. And I think that's what happened to USC here. Utah with some seemingly little shot caller comments. I don't know if you saw the Utah head coach saying "You're welcome, Coach Day"
I did.
in his post game press conference. Um, so that was a little interesting to me, but we'll we'll go ahead and leave the question of whether you think USC gets out or in or out until later. I want to go through each of the games first, and then we can go over um, what our projected college football playoff is going to look like.
Cool.
So let's move on to the other top four team that took the L. TCU stopped in overtime on a fourth and goal on the goal line to lose by 3 to Kansas State. Walk me through this one.
Yeah. The I think I alluded to it um, in previous weeks that I had held pretty consistent that I thought, if healthy, that Kansas State would have been the top four team instead of TCU, based on the fact that the first time they played, TCU was up. I mean, Kansas State was up 17 nothing, 21 nothing, something like that, and their starting quarterback Adrian Martinez got hurt. Their backup quarterback, who played this past weekend, got hurt, and they were down to their third string. Then after going down to their third string, it was basically they couldn't move the ball anymore. TCU was able to make a comeback and win by a score. And this time around, K State still had their backup quarterback, and they they're just a very talented team, and they don't get. Um, I don't think they get enough credit for how good they are, just because of the three losses and the injuries, which is basically the reason for the three losses. But that team is extremely talented, and yeah, it was. They just TCU. I felt like Kansas State was always in control of that game. I know TCU made their runs, and TCU was able to battle back. Um, but to me, it always seemed like whenever TCU would get some momentum, they'd fumble, or especially early in the game, they turn the ball over, they fumble, they do something. And then towards the end of the game, that's when they kind of got the momentum going. Max Duggan started making some plays. Actually, a lot of plays. Max Duggan in that fourth quarter was wild. That dude is tough as nails too, and it just the the overall dynamic of the game and how it played out is one of the main reasons why TCU should still be in the top four, because even though, like, all the adversity, Duggan being hurt, um, Kansas State playing out of this world, and the thing is that went to overtime. They're a top four team already. They lost in overtime by one score. Um, they shouldn't get knocked back for that. But yeah, that was one of the better conference championship games I've seen, and it coming out of the Big 12 was not what I expected, but um, yeah, damn good game though. I really really like this K State team going forward too. They're gonna be good.
Definitely, definitely. Um, I know you and I have both been little, we've been rooting from the sidelines for TCU for a few weeks here. We bring them up every single episode. We always say, "Hey, Max Duggan, Max Duggan, Max Duggan." Um, so just to clarify, you don't believe that TCU should get knocked out of the playoff, correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, there's no reason that a team who is 12-1 and 5-1 against top 25 teams should be knocked out and replaced by a team with 2 losses and a team that's 3-2 against top 25 teams. Um, TCU has the harder ranked strength of schedule between Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama,
Hmm.
and TCU. So TCU has the hardest strength of schedule out of those. Um, I know everybody's going to say it's a SEC's a gauntlet, but if you look at the strength of schedule, strength of opponent, TCU is the harder strength of opponent compared to those schools. So they they should be in. I honestly think they should be 3, and Ohio State should still be 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Before we move on to our projected CFP, do you have any thoughts on the Georgia LSU game, or do you just want to same old with them? And we can just keep going.
I was really annoyed. I mean, right out of the gates, they came out and did they got a blocked field goal and
Yep.
forgot that it's a live ball for whatever reason. I will say LSU's backup quarterback, that man can sling the rock. So I'm interested to see him next year. Um, After Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a senior, right?
I believe he has one more year of eligibility due to the COVID year.
Gotcha. So if we see Jaden Daniels at him next year, I kind of want to see him just to see. But he looked good in the short amount of time we were able to see him.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and give me your 1 through 4 seeds here.
All right. 1, Georgia. 2, Michigan.
Hmm.
3, TCU. 4, Ohio State. And that sets us up for a potential Michigan versus Ohio State national championship game for the rematch, which would be pretty wild.
Yeah, that'd be pretty electric. Not gonna lie. Not to mention how big that would be for the Big Ten. I mean, there's always the internal war between the Big Ten and the SEC, right? I think over the past decade, the SEC, it always comes down to, oh, who has more championships? Okay, well, the SEC's got it, but that was more of a, oh, Alabama has it, and then there would be little ones and twos that would get a championship every now and then, like LSU, or that was really it, wasn't it? Clemson had a couple, but they're not SEC. So there was that. The I hate to break it to the SEC folks, but the Big Ten is coming. The Big Ten, like if not, they're already there, but they are coming. Um, you saw, USC and UCLA both compete heavily this year. Both stayed in the top 15, top 20 all year long.
Mhm.
They went up against some good talent, and I think once they get into the Big Ten and they start recruiting some of the big boys on defense and offensive line and stuff, and actually start competing in the Big Ten, the Big Ten is just going to get even more. It's going to get deeper as far as the depth and the quality of the talent and the size and everything that goes with it. And then you can get into the media deals and the television and the marketing of all that aspect too. But from a pure football standpoint, I mean, you can look at when I look at the SEC, right? Like Tennessee had a one-off year, right? Nobody
Mhm.
expected a top 10 finish from Tennessee this season,
Yeah.
regardless of what anyone at Rocky Top will tell you.
Right.
Um, you know, I certainly didn't expect LSU to be in the SEC title game like at all. It was Georgia, Alabama. Sorry, Georgia, Alabama, everyone else,
Mhm.
right? Um, I mean, I'm looking at the top 25 going into the week. And let's see here. We just as far as SEC schools, we got Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, and South Carolina, but they don't count because they're South Carolina. So,
And
I
their
mean,
OC's gone.
as far as actual competition goes, like without Herndon Hooker, like sorry Tennessee, like I'm glad they had most of their magical season.
Yeah.
Because I believe that every college football fan, regardless of what fan you are, everyone should at least experience that type of like magical season narrative at least once. Just because the feeling is like no other. But he got hurt, it's over. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's going to be Georgia 1. It's going to be I'm trying to think of how, like, okay, so what I think should happen, yeah, it should be Georgia, Michigan. I think TCU stays where they are, and Ohio State comes in at 4. I don't think Alabama gets in on 2 losses, just because of like who their losses were to. They were 2 conference opponents. I do get the argument for Alabama, and I do want to talk about this just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Prefacing that this is not me jumping on the Alabama wagon saying they deserve to be in the college football playoff. But in terms of USC, Ohio State, and Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. Alabama, their 2 losses were 1 possession games on the road down to the wire. Right. Ohio State, their loss was at home getting blown out by someone they were supposed to be competing with. And they did compete for the most part. USC, I'm sorry, but after that Utah game, losing to Utah twice, they don't deserve to be in the playoff. And I've had great big Pac-12 bias, but USC does not deserve to be in the playoff after that showing. TCU, I think, deserves a shot. Do I think TCU is one of the top 4 college football rosters in the country? No, absolutely not. However, we have seen in the past where when it comes to those types of magical seasons, because TCU had one of those magical seasons, you get the types of UCF beating Auburn in the Peach Bowl or whatever bowl game it was. Yeah. You get the Boise State upsetting Oklahoma, with the old Statue of Liberty play or the hook and ladder or whatever it was, right? You get those types of wins. It's an any given Saturday type of approach in college football that, yes, 9 times out of 10, the better team is going to win. However, this is not a series like the NBA or the MLB. This is a one-time, give it your all type thing. And if you are Ohio State or if you are Alabama and you're playing TCU in the semifinal and you're already looking ahead to the national championship, that is exactly the type of matchup that TCU is looking for to put them in the dirt. So, as I was saying, Georgia, Michigan, I'm going to put Ohio State at 3 just so the committee can guarantee that Ohio State-Michigan matchup. And then I'm going to put TCU at 4. I'm putting Alabama at 5, first one looking out. And then and then I'm putting USC at 6.
Yeah, I can see that. Another thing too is Ohio State can really create an issue here if they get healthy. That's the thing for them is if they get Jackson Smith and Jigba back, who hasn't played all season, is their best receiver, and also Travion Henderson, on top of the motivation from the Michigan loss and now getting new life. That's going to be a very interesting to watch that play out. And I just think, I think Ohio State's going to come in with with a chip on their shoulder. And if they get Jackson Smith and Jigma back and Travion Henderson, that's gonna be a tough team to knock out. Um,
Yeah,
so people can say
and
whatever they want about Ohio State, but that team is loaded with athletes, and they can beat anybody in the country. They can beat Georgia. I think they got a top roster in the country.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think if any team that needs to be worried, it's Michigan. You know, Blake Corum is out. He's having surgery. He's gonna miss it. He's gonna miss the playoff, all that stuff. I hope he gets better in time for the draft and all that stuff. If he's even draft eligible this year, but it is what it is. But what Michigan did against Ohio State was they relied on who's their quarterback, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
They relied on him to do something that we had not seen him do all season long, and he did it, which was great. But are you like are we supposed to just sit here and expect him to go and do that same thing for in the 3 or 4 biggest games of his life now? Or is he going to be more of what we've seen throughout the season? Like, if Michigan's going to win, it's going to be on the backs of their defense, with the offense getting a few little trick plays into the end zone. And that's what's going to be for me. To me, out of those 4, Georgia is still. To me, Georgia and Ohio State are still the best 2 teams, or the best rosters. Georgia just has on paper the resume of the undefeated season versus Ohio State, which is what puts Georgia over the top.
Right.
Their defense is still just as good. They have those 6'8" fucking brick walls of tight ends. Stetson Bennett has really developed a lot as a passer, and well, more so as a game manager than anything.
Yeah.
And Kirby Smart is one of those types of coaches that he's not going to make that many mistakes for you to capitalize and rely on. And I think that's really where Georgia will get you. They'll put you in a slugfest, and they just won't make mistakes. So they'll keep their hands up. They'll protect their face, all the while continuing to throw the same haymakers that their opponent is.
Yeah, and those when you look at the size of the guys in their defensive line, and it's insane. Um, they got some absolute monsters on that defense. So
Mm-hmm.
I really think a full strength Ohio State versus Georgia will be a insane stylistic matchup. You got the athletes on Ohio State, like in Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Stroud, going against these monsters on the line, these insane linebackers that can cover. They can cover. They can blitz. That their all around talent on defense is just insane. The way they recruit to that defense, it's there's a reason why that defense is consistently the top, and they know how to scout, they know how to recruit, they know how to develop on that defense. So that would be a really interesting matchup.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's go ahead and let's move into the NFL. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, let's go and let's get started. Tell you what, let's get started with the first 2 couple games, right? The ones that mean the most to you and the ones that mean the most to me today, right? We're talking the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans, the return of
Man,
good old Deshaun Watson, suiting up in a Cleveland Browns uniform for the first time in a regular season format.
yep.
The spread is listing Cleveland at a 7.5 point favorite. Again, on the road, money line minus 365. Take us through this one. What are your thoughts? What's going to happen?
Man, this is tough. I'm in a situation right now where it's like I want my team to really stick it to Deshaun, but no, my team doesn't have the ability. So I'm trying to think through in my mind how in the world can we get one over on Deshaun? Um, this one's gonna be this one's gonna be a painful game to watch because first off, Deshaun's gonna rightfully get booed out of the stadium. That's gonna be fun to watch. But then I we got Derek Stingley out, so our top cornerback is out, and the last thing I want to happen is this dude to come back and just light us up. So, um, unfortunately, I think we lose this game. I hope not, but I'm just hoping that we can at least cause him to have struggles, and I just don't want him to come out and just tear it up on us. The best I can hope for is the fact that maybe we can establish some kind of run game, and you know, maybe we can shorten the game a little bit, and you shorten the game, limit the amount of possessions, and you never know from there. I mean, that's kind of the trick to really beating a team that's well above your level is just try to limit the number of possessions to keep the game from getting away from you. And I mean, they got us plus 275, plus 7.5 on the spread. That sounds about right, but I'm hoping this ends up being much closer. And man, if we could pull this out, that'd be like my Super Bowl right there. That'd be like the Rockets beating the Suns the other day or 2 days ago. That would that'd be nice. But yeah, Deshaun first game back, 2 years off. I'm not expecting he's going to. I think it might take him until next year to really kind of get back to form. People don't understand how hard it is to come 2 years off of not playing live game action and then just jump right back into it. Practice, training, those are one thing, but nothing simulates the game action. So that is my one hope right there is that he is just rusty enough to the point where we can just cause a little havoc and make it an interesting game. I mean, honestly, for them, if they just give a hefty dose of Nick Chubb, um, they'll beat us. We can't stop the run. We have the worst run defense in the league. Um, if they would just come out and start running the ball, they probably handle us pretty well. But that's the thing too. If they run the ball, we run the ball. The game really gets shortened. So I'm curious to see their game plan coming out with him.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some pressure on Kevin Stefanski to go ahead and try and put Deshaun in some situations for him to go and actually make some plays. But I also think that could really hurt a lot of Cleveland's progression. To me, it's kind of like the whole like Cooper Rush versus Dak Prescott kind of thing, right? Like, you don't have to change the game plan when just because your quarterback is getting better on a talent perspective, right?
Right.
Um, Honestly, like Cleveland would have been favorites with or without Deshaun Watson at
Percent.
quarterback
Yeah.
this week. There's no way to get around that. However, I think it should be a Nick Chubb running all over the defense. And maybe that opens up a couple play action, little fun plays later in the game for Deshaun. But yeah, first game back. I'm glad you touched on it. 2 years without any live game action. Um, if there is any glimmer, a little silver lining for Houston to take advantage of, it's force Deshaun Watson into some of those rusty mistakes early and capitalize off of them.
Yep.
Really, Houston's going to have to be the first one to throw the punch here, the first punch, and really let them know, like, hey, we might only have one win on the season, but look out.
Hmm.
I'm not publicly condoning any bounty gate type of stuff.
Go for the knees.
But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that.
I'm condoning it, but you won't.
Yeah. But yeah, this should be a Nick Chubb masterclass today. I would expect at least a $125 and a touchdown for Nick Chubb. Yeah, as far as statistics go, I'm not really expecting too much from Deshaun Watson today. And so here's the thing. I know where you stand on it, but when it comes to fantasy football for Deshaun Watson, what's his end of year going to be looking like? Because we're at week 13 now. A lot of playoffs start. I think week 15, 16, and 17 is the playoffs. What kind of return of investment should people be looking for if they pick up Deshaun Watson for the playoffs?
I see Deshaun by the playoff time.
Yeah.
He'll be a top 12 QB, fantasy QB. I don't know if he'll quite crack the top 10. I
got
think
you.
again, going the rest of the season, what they're going to do is they're still going to give a heavy run game, and
Mm-hmm.
then I think they're going to be smart about how they use him. I don't know if they're not just going to start dropping him back and just throwing the ball over the field. So I think that might limit his um, potential upside, but also we know he can run. So dual threat quarterbacks, we know what kind of things
Mm-hmm.
points when they start using their legs, because that's when the points really take off for QBs. So um, yeah, I would say like top 12 fantasy QB by the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. Just for reference, he plays Houston this week. Week 14, at least for me in all my leagues, that's the last regular season week of the season. Goes up against Cincinnati, who's been kind of hit or miss as far as defense goes this year. And then at home against Baltimore, at home against the Saints, and then on the road against Washington for what would be championship week. Just for some clarity there. Okay, let's move on to my game. All right, we got my apologies here. We got the Bears this week. We got the old Green Bay Chicago rivalry renewed for another one. Little fun fact here: the winner of this game is solely seated in first place for the the winningest franchise in the NFL. Green Bay and Chicago are currently tied for, is it wins or is it win percentage? Hold on here.
It's actually kind of wild to think about considering the state of the teams.
Whatever it is, this game decides it. So let's see here. Yeah. Okay. So the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears are both listed at 786 all-time franchise wins, the most by any NFL team. The winner of this game puts the other in first place. Not that it can't literally get reversed next week, regardless, but this one is a doozy. Chicago has had that hold for the longest time, and Green Bay has finally caught up through decades now of just dominance over Chicago to really catch up with them. The spread, we are at Soldier Field today.
I'm gonna shut my door. My dog's barking. Stand by.
What's that?
I'm still gonna be able to hear you, but I'm gonna shut my door because my dog's barking.
Okay. The spread is listed at Green Bay, the 4-point favorites. The over-under listed at 45. To me, that's right there in the sweet spot. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Taking a look at the actual fantasy implications of this game. Sorry. Aaron Rodgers is listed as healthy. He's not on the injury report. He had that rib oblique slash thing injury last week. He's also been dealing with that thumb for a while now, about 6, 7 weeks. Um, and and so yeah, he will get the start over Chicago. I think if we were playing any other team, I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers is one of those ultimate competitor types. He's never going to want to sit out. He's always going to try to play the game. Um, but yeah, it's to me, it's gonna be a battle of the running backs or the running game this week. Um, both teams are just completely enamored by injuries. Green Bay is missing, I think, 3 or 4 starters on their defense. David Bakhtiari is out this week. He suffered an abdomen injury or something, so he had a little not surgery, but he did have an operation to where they were just going in and taking a look at some stuff. So he will be out this week. Khalil Herbert is out for the Bears. Brisker on the defensive side of the ball is also out, along with a bunch of their defensive pieces as well. So this is going to be a typical, Big 12, type of no defense type of game. Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Justin Fields as well, and then maybe even AJ Dillon, who actually looked a lot better last week than he has since week 1. I'm never going to say that the Bears are going to win, so give me Green Bay. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers is coming to renew his ownership over the Chicago Bears. They might as well just rename Soldier Field to Rogers Field, honestly. But yeah, that's my take on it. What you got?
Yeah, so with this one, yeah, it's Fields is on track to play, so that's the biggest key here.
Yep.
Otherwise, I think we know it would be easy work for Green Bay. I do think that Green Bay has a little bit more structure. The reason Fields got hurt is because there's no identity to that offense, and it's a whole lot of him figuring it out on the fly, taking off running, and he's taking a lot of shots, and it's going to be harder and harder for him the more and more he goes on with that offense being in a way where it's not a design play for him. Um, I get ad libbing sometimes, but it's going to be really hard unless he establishes some kind of offense in the passing game. Um, for the Packers, again, they, probably the most. It's so hard to read that team right now because I feel like at any moment that team can go off for 35 points. But it's just like they're just discombobulated. They're out of sync right now. Of course, we got Christian Watson coming in, who's taken the league by storm over the last 3 weeks. Just seemingly came out of nowhere. It's really hard to judge this game because of that. It's like is Fields going to be himself with battling that injury? I do think if Fields is in there 100%, I think that limits Montgomery. But I do think if Fields gets injured or anything like that, I still think they're going to stick to the run game. They're going to go a heavy dose of David Montgomery. But yeah, that offense is, as much as discombobulation there is in the Packers offense, I think the Bears have just zero identity, and they don't know what they're going to do game to game. It's just like, we're going to run the play. Something will happen. Justin Fields, go figure it out. And to me, it's hard to have any confidence in a team like that. So I personally think the Packers are going to win, especially with Fields being banged up. Cole Kmet has basically become a non-existent fantasy tight end at this point. But if Fields is not able to run or they limit his running because of this game, I think Montgomery has a lot of upside fantasy wise for this game. um,
Definitely,
I wish it
definitely.
was Khalil Herbert, but
Yeah.
got injured.
Okay.
But
We do have our first question of the week. By the way, if you guys are watching, you guys do have any fantasy questions or any questions on how we feel on a certain bet that you're trying to make, drop it in the comments. We'll go ahead and we'll go and we'll get to it when we get to it. We will answer it as soon as possible. Okay, so CC Sharks, Lamar Jackson or Trevor Lawrence?
it's funny because this is my exact quarterback combo in our dynasty league.
Yeah,
So Lamar is hard to not throw in there as an automatic must start, but right now with their offensive weapons, he hasn't shown. Well, they haven't shown that I can have any confidence in him right now because I mean, you got even last week. Um, they're dropping passes left and right. Um, he's since Bateman's been out, he's just been kind of struggling. Of course, he was sick last week, but Jacksonville versus Detroit has a potential to just be like I want all the fantasy assets in that game, just because that game can go berserk fantasy wise. So for me, I'm going to. I haven't done it yet, but I'm actually going to flip Trevor Lawrence into my quarterback and start him over Lamar until Lamar at least can show me something, or until T Law's in a bad matchup. But with the way T Law's been playing lately, the way T Law's been throwing the ball, and then the way Lamar has been playing his offense and his receivers, I'm starting Lawrence.
yeah. This is I can't believe we're talking about this. Man, 2 years ago, it would have been. I don't care if you have Patrick Mahomes, like you're starting Lamar Jackson, right? Like, uh,
Shoot, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago would have been that way.
it's true. Yeah, absolutely. 10 of his 17 passing touchdowns came in the first 3 weeks of the season. He was off to an absolute tear. And it's just been like little ones and twos. Ever since week 3, he's only had one game on the season or since that he's had multiple passing touchdowns. His yards haven't been there. He's ever since the bye he has eclipsed 200 yards passing both times, which is good. But man, I mean it's tough. Like he's got 4 games this season under 200 passing yards. He is going up against Denver, who has been pretty suspect. But Trevor Lawrence is also going up against Detroit, right? So if you want to split hairs, then yeah, Trevor Lawrence has the better matchup. I think that game is going to be a lot closer than Baltimore and Denver. Therefore, you're going to get a full 4 quarters of actual fantasy relevance versus Baltimore, who they'll go up by a couple scores and they'll take their foot off the gas pedal at the end of the fourth quarter. However, Lamar is the QB5 on the year, despite everything that we've been like, oh, he's been kind of down. He already has more passing touchdowns than last season. He has more rushing touchdowns than last season already. And last season he played 12 games. He's only played in 11 so far this year. So I think you still have to start Lamar, and it's just one of those start your studs kind of things.
Are you
If
saying
you're
that
in a
because I'm playing
dynasty
against
league,
you?
what's that?
Are you saying that because I'm playing against you this week?
No, no, I'm
And that's
not.
my exact QBs.
However, like if you're in a dynasty league, that is the perfect setup to have Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence. If you're in a redraft, I don't know, but I do like Trevor Lawrence's. I do like Trevor Lawrence a lot this week against Detroit. I don't think you're asking between 1A and 1B here. So I'm picking Lamar Jackson. Justin's taking Trevor Lawrence on a pretty bold in my. I'm not. It sounds bold to say you're starting anyone over Lamar Jackson, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If you break the numbers down, sure. Yeah. Okay. Moving on here. JJ Keats, start 3. Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Godwin, Chris Olave, Scary Terry, and George Pickens.
I'm starting Chase, Monra, and Godwin.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? Jamar Chase, St. Brown, Godwin. Easy day.
They said Jamar Chase is on a limited snap count.
Right, right. And I think they did it the right way, because last week they said he could have played last week, but I think last week would have been that snap count, limited type stuff, just to see what he's got. They sat him another week. They ended up getting the win last week anyway, because Cincinnati is actually a decent football team. And so here they are now. They get their prize possession back, and T. Higgins finally gets to get covered by number 2 corners again. And okay. JJ Keats has another question for us. Quarterback start. Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G. Under no circumstances am I ever starting Jimmy Garoppolo in a fantasy matchup.
It is Miami, but yeah, I don't have any trust in Jimmy G.
Yeah. You got Kirk Cousins up against the Jets.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, you have Kirk Cousins up against the Jets. You have Jimmy Garoppolo against the Dolphins.
Yep.
And then you have Tom Brady against, one moment, let me find the game, the Saints. I'm probably starting Kirk Cousins. Tom Brady, the New Orleans Saints, the same way that Utah has it for USC, the New Orleans Saints have it for Tom Brady. All of his games against the Saints are just kind of mid at best. So I'm going to, you know what? It's a 1:00 game on a Sunday afternoon. Give me Kirk Cousins, the 1:00 goat.
Cousins, I'm torn between Cousins. The one thing I like about Brady more is the fact that he's not going against the Jets defense, because we know they got a superstar DB on that defense. And Sauce. I like Brady here, based on solely on that, but I would not be I wouldn't be upset if you went with Kirk. But me personally, I would lean Brady, but it's a slight lean, and it's only because of the matchup.
One's a better matchup.
And that Jets secondary is tough. So
Gotcha. Okay. Next question from Wambly. Pick 2, full PPR. Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, or Dameon Pierce?
So we have Walker, Najee, Pierce. Pick 2, full PPR.
You want the matchups?
Is Najee playing?
Ooh, that's actually a good question.
Did they ever?
I don't
say on that.
Maybe. He has been cleared to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we know Pierce and PPR really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because Pierce doesn't really get any targets. So if Najee is a full go and not limited capacity, right now with the way the Texans offense has been moving the ball, and I have no confidence in Kyle Allen. For Pierce to get points, that offense has to do something. He's been getting shut down the last few weeks because they're just keying on him. I would go Kenneth Walker and Najee.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Kenneth Walker against a struggling Rams defense, struggling Rams team as a whole. Matthew Stafford is now on the IR on their offense, so I think their defense is going to get put in a lot of situations that they just don't want to be in. And give me Give me Kenneth Walker against the Rams, and give me Najee Harris against the Atlanta Falcons, who give up. They're in the bottom third of points allowed to running backs in fantasy
Mhm.
football. So, yeah, give me Kenneth Walker, Najee Harris, as long as he's healthy. Says he's not on or I think it said he's not on a snap count. Yeah, pretty simple there. Okay, my man John Smith back in the chat. Who should I pick up on the waiver wire since Joe Mixon and Leonard Fournette are heartburns? Good question. Go ahead,
Samaje
Justin.
Perine
Samaje Perine. Yep, if he's not already
or
been
Rashad White.
taken.
I don't
What's
know what his
that?
waivers look like, but those are the handcuffs.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Yeah, okay. So some of my favorite waiver wire pickups that you could probably take here. James Cook out of Buffalo. He looks very involved in the game on Thursday. You're not going to be able to play him this week, but going forward, James Cook does look to have established a bit of a bigger piece of that offense to him. So with the playoffs coming up and stuff, depending on where you are, that could be a good option. Zonovan Knight off the Jets or Ty Johnson off the Jets. Michael Carter is hurt. James Robinson was a healthy scratch last week, so I don't really know what's going on with him there. Jaylen Warren for the Steelers. Even with Najee Harris in, Jaylen Warren has looked good this year. Trying to think who else. Maybe Dontrell Hilliard off the Titans. I know Derrick Henry's getting 95% of those carries, but Dontrell Hilliard, he has made the most of what touches he's gotten. So as far as some spot starts going, you got the Titans up against the Eagles, who Green Bay was able to run all over the Eagles defense. That interior defensive line wasn't really that great because the Dominican Sue, and sorry, Justin, but this man is old, and Linval Joseph just was a non-factor all game. So, yeah, those are some options. Justin,
It
did you
looks
have
like
any others?
ETN's playing, so JaMychal Hasty is
Michael
really
Hasty for sure.
useless. Well, he would have been a good flex play if ETN ended up being out, but it looks like
Yeah,
he's in.
yeah, for sure, for sure. What about like a Tyler Algier?
I I like Tyler Algier. The only issue I have with the Falcons offense is for some reason they love to get Cordell Patterson those touchdowns, but Algier, I mean, he's a solid flex. I mean, he's consistently been a part of that ever since he's kind of taken over about around the 50% of the snap share. Um, he's gotten double digit carries in every game since week 4, but week 10 and 11.
Yeah,
So I I like him. He's not going to get you a ton of points, of course. He's been good for about, you know, his highest point total the year was 17, stretch of 11, 17, 13. So that's about your ceiling with Algier. But I mean, with running backs the way they are right now, you'll take that.
for sure, for sure. What about? I have my eyes on one that I wanted to ask your opinion on. What about a Jordan Mason? He's a rookie running back for the 49ers. Eli Mitchell is now on injured reserve again. It's quite clear that Kyle Shanahan does not like one running back to get all of the touches, even if it is Christian McCaffrey. So, what are your thoughts on like Jordan Mason, or maybe taking a shot on like Ty Davis Price, or something like that?
Yeah, man, it's tough with Tyrion Davis Price.
Yeah,
I Hey, there's free Vert Girl chat in U City. on our YouTube chat.
Oh,
If you want
nice.
to click on that link.
Yeah, let me go ahead.
I'm just kidding. Don't click on it. But yeah. So, but it sounds like they're both gonna get increased workloads. It sounds so to me. It sounds like too much. To me, it sounds like almost like the Huntley Algier situation when they first started rotating them two in. So I think right now I'm staying away from Mason and Tyrion Davis Price. Um, I would be more apt to go to, especially since that backfield already is kind of split carries.
Yeah.
I would go look into a Kyron Williams if he's available.
Definitely. If Kyron Williams is still available, definitely go take a look at him. That offense is struggling. However, at this point in the season, you're going for if you're looking for a running back to actually play on waivers, you're looking for anyone that's going to get a good amount of volume, and just hope that they can actually do something with it. So I agree completely. Okay, John, with another question: Mac Hollins, Nico Collins, Josh Palmer, or Darius Slayton?
Man, I'm sad about
You say you're going
DeAndre.
Josh Palmer?
Well, no, I said I'm sad about Josh Palmer because the DeAndre Carter just came and all of a sudden just took his damn spot in that offense.
Yeah.
Um, for me here, I'm probably taking. Let's see, Nico Palmer Slayton. Part of me likes Palmer, but I'm definitely not Hollins for sure. So Hollins is out, Slayton is out. So between Nico and Palmer. The thing with Nico is right, like if our offense can get anything going, he's the guy. I'm probably going to go Nico. I think he's probably going to get a fair share of targets. And Palmer, he's kind of the more time goes on, the more healthy they get, the more Carter and Palmer are going to kind of
Yeah.
fall back down a little bit. So I don't have a lot of confidence in the Texans
Right.
offense, but if we're playing from behind, we're gonna be targeting Nico fairly heavily and body, so he's a good red zone target. Um, Even though they haven't gotten to the red zone enough to really give him targets, but um, I do think, and I think Nico will get his fair share of targets. So yeah, I'll go Nico.
Yeah. So with this question, I'm looking at two things here. I'm looking at one, are they going to have the opportunity to actually go and do something? And two, have they done something with the opportunity when they've previously had it? And that's what really steers me towards Mac Hollins. You got Hunter Renfro out. You have Darren Waller out. You have a lot of coverage looking Devontae Adams' way, but you have Mac Hollins right there at the wide receiver 2 spot. Mac Hollins does have 6 games in double digits this year, as far as PPR fantasy points goes. He ever since, yeah, I mean, he actually has yet to go below an 85% snap share all season long, and that's with those other guys healthy as well. Um, He's got, let's see, week 2, he had 8 targets. Week 3, he had 11. Week 8, he had 8. Week 10, he had 6. Week 11, he had 9. Um, yeah, it seems to be like there's a lot of targets going Mac Hollins' way, going up against a Chargers defense that has certainly underperformed as to what we thought that Chargers defense could be. I think that Mac Hollins is probably the play there for me. So, and then John also says that this is the end for his team. I know what team he's talking about. He's had a rough year. Let's put it that way.
You're
But
on the
hey,
same league.
I have leagues where I'm having rough years too. So, yeah. I
I think they're going to be announcing the top 4 for the playoffs soon too, but
I thought they were doing that tonight.
oh, is it? Oh, maybe it was just letting me know what time it was. I saw a notification come across my phone, but I ain't had a
Oh
chance to
no!
check it.
Hey, on ESPN it says live. Watch live on ESPN College Football Playoff Selection Show.
Interesting. So we should have that by the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm gonna have it up just so I can go ahead and keep an eye on it, and we get a little bit of a live reaction, huh? That's something new for the show. That's fun.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and let's get that in. Go ahead and keep dropping your questions, folks. We'll keep answering them. Justin, what other games did you want to talk about as far as fantasy this week? Which
Let's
games had your attention?
Jacksonville Detroit game.
Jacksonville, Detroit. Our weekly fantasy gold mine. Love it. Yes. Let me go ahead and get all this up. All right. Jacksonville and Detroit. Caesar Sportsbooks has the Detroit Lions at home as the 1-point favorite. I do like the Jacksonville Jaguars at the plus 100 money line. Over under is 51. Yeah. What are the key players here for you?
So one for me that really he's going to be limited today, but I really do want to see him in limited action, just see if he can do anything. Is Jameson Williams, first game back. Again, 12th overall pick uh, this past draft. Came into the season with an ACL injury. Finally, I mean they easing him back slowly, but him and even limited game action, just being able to see him on the field and maybe he can get a target or two, and we can just see kind of what he looks like a little bit out there. Um, that one, that one is one thing I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to. Um, the the other part about that is, does that open up Amon Ra a little bit more? To me, I feel like him, Williams and Amon Ra might become similar to a Keenan Allen, Mike Williams type of thing, where Jameson Williams is kind of the break you over the top type of guy, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's the PPR monster. He's going to be getting a lot of those targets on third and short, things like that. Um, so I've been waiting to see kind of what this offense is going to look like with both of them in there. So hopefully he's not too limited. Hopefully he can get a little something out of it and see. Again, I'm very high on Lawrence this week. Just from how he's looked lately, he's been spreading the ball around. Um, he has been making some throws, and he just seems to be gaining a lot of momentum. So I'm really interested to see what he looks like in this game. Um, and then, of course, with the Lions, you have your must starts, which are DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. So, but I like this game, man. I think
The Jags pull this one out.
but the over under at 51. This is going to be a fun game.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, okay. Let's get into our positional projections for the week here. So starting at the quarterback position here, who do you have as your QB to finish as the number one this week?
All right. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. QB1 for this week, Trevor Lawrence.
For all the reasons that you just said?
Yep. I
Gotcha.
I don't like Hurts' matchup with Tennessee. Again, that's two teams that slow the game down. Although Hurts, we know what he can do with his legs. So there's always that upside with Hurts just because of that. It's just the matchup. I feel like the game might be shortened a little bit. Josh Allen against New England. New England's tough sometimes. I mean, they look terrible sometimes, but they're very well coached, as we all know. So I'm not a huge fan of the matchup there. Burrow versus KC, that has the potential. He has the high potential to be QB1. He was my initial, but then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go a little bit I think it's picking the Mahomes, the Hurts, the Allens is easy. I'm just gonna try to go on a limb, and I do think Trevor Lawrence is gonna have a fantastic day. And then we got, of course, Lamar Jackson against Denver. Denver's defense, very tough. Say what you want about them as a team, they're terrible, but their defense is tough. So I like Lawrence versus Detroit.
Gotcha. Okay. Before I get into mine, we do have another question here, this time from John L. Full PPR here, Nico Collins or Treylon Burks?
So I love Treylon Burks. For me, right now, with the Texans offense playing the way it is, I am going to go Treylon Burks here. It's close. I have both in our league, and I'm starting Treylon. Mainly
Yeah.
because he is the surefire one on a team that can move the ball. Nico's the one on a team that can't move the ball. So, and of course, Treylon's just way more gifted as an athlete. So yeah, give me Treylon.
Yeah, I agree. Give me Treylon Burks. I don't know what the injury status is on CJ Gardner-Johnson for the Eagles. He did get hurt last week against Green Bay on Sunday night. But I would expect them to kind of move Treylon Burks into that like slot kind of role, and which is where he kind of thrives actually, and that's where Ryan Tannehill looks to target a lot. A lot of his touchdowns, they come over the middle and stuff like that as well. So yeah, and if Davis Mills was starting, maybe a little bit of a different story, but he's not. Kyle Allen is, and yeah, give me Treylon Burks for sure.
Yep.
Okay. I want to dive into this Titans-Eagles game a little bit here.
What was your QB?
Oh, shit. My bad. Forget that game. My QB1 for the week is going to be Joe Burrow. He's going up against Kansas City, a team that he just consistently has that defense figured out. He gets his number one target back this week. T. Higgins, all 6'6", 6'5" of them is going to be covered by whoever the number two corner is for Kansas City. It might even be that rookie actually, but yeah, he's got all of his weapons back, and he's got a good matchup against a team that he's definitely going to show out. It's going to be Joe Burrow.
Yeah. The over-under in that one's 53, so that one and the Detroit game are just going to be score fest.
What was that?
Could you hear me? I said the over-under in that one's 53, so that one and the Detroit game are both going to be a score fest and a fantasy gold mine.
Definitely. Okay. All right. Moving on to the running back position here. Who do you got at running back taking the crown this week?
So, Josh Jacobs ended up throwing us all off last week. I'm gonna go, between Eckler and Chubb, but I'm gonna go Chubb. And it's hard to say. Like, I almost want to pivot and say Jacobs because the Chargers' run defense is absolutely horrible too, and I don't want to see Chubb be the. But I'm gonna go Chubb.
I gotcha. Well, you stole mine because I was gonna go Nick Chubb. So I am between Saquon and Austin Eckler. Saquon against the Washington defense. divisional opponent. He's kind of the focal point of that. Well, he's not kind of. He is the focal point of that offense anyway. He's going to get all those touches anyway. But give me Eckler against the Raiders. I'm pretty sure I actually tried to call for Austin Eckler against the Raiders last time. No, never mind. That was week 1. He only had 11 points week 1, but he also kind of started off slow in the season. And then like week 4, he blew up, went for 4 straight games of 24 points or more, had the bye week. He's at 23, 13, 18, and then back to 25. He's at Las Vegas. He had 15 targets last week. That's insane. Basically a running back, or he's basically a wide receiver just lining up in the running back position. Like there's Deebo Samuel, there's Cordero Patterson, and there's Austin Eckler. Those are all like the same type of Mr. Do-It-All. He is the running back 1 on the season so far in PPR. He's the number 4 in standard. Give me Austin Eckler this week.
Yeah, because Saquon's matchup is really tough, especially with how he's been running the ball lately. He's had 22 yards, 39 yards the last 2 weeks, and the Commanders give the 4th fewest points to fantasy running backs. So,
wide receivers. What are we looking at here?
All right, pick the same I picked last week, so I won't do that. I think I'm gonna go Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson, even with being covered by Sauce.
Yeah, it's Justin Jefferson.
It's true. That's true. And there's really not much to explain or elaborate on that either, is there? It's Justin Jefferson.
It's like Diggs. Diggs put up 90-something yards when he played Sauce, and we both said he would have a game. So,
I have a little bit of a wild card pick. Excuse me. Sorry, not used to, waking up. Give me Christian Kirk against the Detroit Lions. You said it with Trevor Lawrence.
like it.
And I mean, if Trevor Lawrence is going to be your QB1, he's got to throw it to someone, right?
Yep.
And Christian Kirk, wide receiver 10 on the season. He has just consistently been targeted. He's got target after target. He's got. I'm counting here. Like he has 2 games under 6 targets, and that was weeks 5 and 6, where it was just kind of like weird. But give me Christian Kirk this week. He's having an absolutely astounding year. He's got 91 targets on the year, which is only 12 targets shy of all of his targets he received last year with Arizona. And that's 6 games. 6 games, get 12 targets. Like he's going to pass that for sure. He could very well reach that 100 target mark today on the season. So let me go. Let me grab some Christian Kirk action. I think he's a definite solid lock in your lineup wide receiver this week.
Yeah, and Zay Jones could take some of the
and I don't think people are talking
like
about
the
Zay
defensive
Jones
looks
enough.
off of him and get him more targets.
Yeah, Zay Jones has been tremendous this year.
Yeah,
honestly,
just by
Jones,
the way he's been playing lately.
He's got 24 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's got 19 receptions over the last 2 weeks, over 200 receiving yards. He's averaging, and that's without touchdowns too. Like that's impressive to me at least. Other candidates that I was looking at here, Brandon Ayuk is going to be without Deebo Samuel this week, or at least it's looking like it. Brandon Ayuk definitely a candidate as well. Garrett Wilson is another one. He had 30% target share last week in Mike White's first start of the season. Now here he goes with a they're not. The Minnesota defense isn't bad, but they're not. Their secondary is not good. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
not terrible. They'll get the job done. Patrick Peterson is still going to make some plays, but Patrick Peterson is not the Patrick Peterson of 2016. And yeah, so that was another one that I was really toying around with. I was trying to really find those like wild card picks there, which I think I'm going to try to start doing a little more. To me, it's kind of easy to just look at all the studs and be like, okay, he's got the best matchup. That's going to be the guy.
But
So
we
I
get
think
the
I'm just
tight end right every week with Kelsey.
Yeah. Okay. So tight end, what do you got?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I went Kelsey last week. That was basically, cheating on my homework.
Yeah.
Duh. So this week I'm gonna go. Dude, I almost wanted to go the Muth, but
Youth. Love it.
I think I'm gonna go Hawkinson.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. You got Sauce on the outside covering, but TJ Hawkinson has been on an absolute tear ever since getting traded to Minnesota. He's been a very big portion of the offense here. Now, I do want to take a small little delay here as I'm keeping a track on the college football playoff selection show here. So the first two have been announced. Just as we thought, Georgia 1, Michigan is going to be 2. I don't have the sound on because obviously I'm talking to you, so I don't know exactly what they're saying. But yeah, they do have the graphic up right now. Georgia is going to be the 1 seed, and Michigan will be the 2 seed. So it's going to be quite interesting to see who comes up next. And when that comes through, I'll go ahead and I will make a little announcement on it as well. But as far as, TJ Hawkinson has been on an absolute tear, for sure. I'm going to say Dalton Schultz. I'm going to say Dalton Schultz against the Indianapolis Colts. Dalton Schultz has definitely benefited a lot since Dak Prescott has been back. And there at number 3, we do have the TCU Horned Frogs. Good for them. Max Duggan does get in there at the 3 seed regardless. They will play Michigan. Now all eyes are going to be on that 4th seed.
Got to be Ohio State. So they got TCU 3?
Yep, they had TCU at 3. Number 4, it's going to be Ohio State, it's going to be Alabama, or on a long shot, it's going to be USC. But I don't.
It's got to be Ohio State.
So I would agree. Okay, yeah, Dalton Schultz has been a great option for Dak Prescott ever since coming back. I think Dak Prescott's definitely dealing with the loss of Amari Cooper this year pretty heavily. He really hasn't had that like superstar performance kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's been fine, but as far as like top performer, he just hasn't really shown up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand he missed games for injuries and stuff, but I mean, even since being back, he's gone. Okay, I mean, he's been fine. He had 26 points week 8 against Chicago, which was great. He had 21 against Green Bay, 20 against Minnesota. He had 15 last week. He had 12 in his first game back. Like, he's been okay as far as quarterbacks go. Like, the ability is there. You can see the ability's there, but it doesn't always
translate.
You know what I mean? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's keep the ball rolling here. What is your sleeper of the week?
I would say
Ohio State is in at number 4. Ohio State is in at number 4.
Yes, sir. No SEC team at the back. Just
so
Georgia. That's all we got to deal
Alabama's
with.
going to be 5 in either Tennessee or I'm assuming Alabama's going to be 5 in either USC or Tennessee will be 6. But that doesn't matter because, yeah, absolutely.
I don't care. care what they do with the
Okay.
rest.
Sleeper of the week. What you got?
So my sleeper of the week is going to be Jelani Woods. I don't know how much of a sleeper he is after last week performance. I was lucky Cooper dropped him in our league. I had to go
Yep.
pick him up because I wanted him earlier this week, and I saw Cooper had him. But Jelani Woods, just if you look at his measurables coming into the um, draft and his combine scores and stuff like that, dude, just athletic as all hell. The dude is just a freak. He was top percentile in most of the. I had him earlier. I had pulled him up earlier. In most of the measurables. It's the
Yeah.
combine and stuff like that go, but 6'7", 253. He had a 64% snap share last week, 9 targets, 8 receptions for 98 yards. He is listed as questionable, so I'm hoping that he is a full go. But yeah, he's my sleeper of the week. Jelani Woods from the Colts, tight end. Yep, and he's right now only rostered in 10% of leagues.
For sure. My my sleeper of the week is going to be Zonovan Knight, the rookie running back for the New York Jets, going up against Minnesota today. He's rostered in 52% of leagues, only started in about 18%. Michael Carter, with his ankle, he's been listed as doubtful. I just touched on that Minnesota defense. They're not bad, they're not good kind of thing. Knight got on just a 48% snap share last week. He had 17 touches for over 100 yards, all purpose. I would expect something similar along those lines today. We saw it with Breece Hall at the beginning of the year. The New York Jets remind me a lot of what the Michigan Wolverines do in the college forte, just because like the quarterback is
we have a couple questions, by the way, whenever you
Mike
get done.
White can make plays, but I'm not sure I want to give him 40, 50 throws a game. But rely on the run game and let the defense do its job. That has been the New York Jets' way of football this year. So now with Zonovan Knight but Zonovan Knight stepping up, he showed everyone last week that he can do it. So now he's going to get a whole game to himself here. And yeah, I mean, Ty Johnson's going to get a few touches as well. But yeah, to me, it's going to be all Zonovan Knight this week as they are looking to take on the Minnesota Vikings.
We got a couple questions in the chat.
Oh, good. Perfect. Trey, I believe Trey is a returning viewer. Welcome back, Trey. It says, morning, gents. Full PPR start 2. Travis Etienne, Jeff Wilson, Rachaad White, Lenny, or Devontae Smith. Thanks and good luck this week.
I like Etienne. Yeah, I'll go Etienne and Rachaad White out of those.
Yeah, I love Etienne and Rachaad White, mainly because those are my running backs in my Dynasty League.
So I'm going against.
Leonard Fournette listed as doubtful, I believe. I don't believe he's going to be playing. So there's that. Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson has been doing great things down in Miami, but Raheem Mostert is back this week as well. Devontae Smith is such a crapshoot. You never know what he's going to do, and especially against that sneaky good Tennessee defense, it's really hard to predict him. Yeah, give me Etienne and Rachaad White this week for sure. And then Trey also wants to know Tua or Dak.
Tua's in a really tough matchup. Dak is also in a tough matchup, but not quite as tough. I like Dak this week.
Dak is going up against Indianapolis. Tua in San Francisco. Yeah, give me Dak Prescott this week. Indianapolis is Like they've had streaks. Kenny Moore is a tremendous corner, but yeah, I'm gonna ride with Dak Prescott this week over Tua.
Yeah, it's hard.
Trey
It's hard to
also
pick
said, "I
anybody
appreciate it
to go
as
against the
always."
Niners.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for stopping in, Trey.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate the questions and the interaction as always. Okay, so we're sitting here at 10:30 a.m. Game time starts in 30 minutes. Let's get into some betting, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's see here. First, what is your money line upset of the week?
All right, so hold on. Let me pull it up here. My computer's lagging out a little bit.
Okay.
I have taken a note here.
With yours first.
So this is letting up. If you have it. Do you have one?
I can go ahead and get it kicked off here. I think the value at the Indianapolis Colts plus 400 against the Dallas Cowboys is actually pretty astounding. I don't really believe in the Dallas Cowboys like that to have them listed at minus 550 favorites. That would be one where I would probably take the 10.5 point spread in favor of the Colts instead of the Cowboys or over the money line. But yeah, the Chargers are plus money odds against the Raiders, which is pretty astounding to me. As bad as the Chargers have been, the Raiders have been one of the bottom 4 teams in the league this year. They just can't seem to win a football game to save their lives. Taking more.
I found mine.
Here. What's that?
I found mine. It's Tennessee over Philly.
Tennessee over Philly. Yeah, plus 185. We were talking about that sneaky good defense. We saw Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon run all over the Eagles last week.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just think of what Derrick Henry could do this week. You know what I mean? Definitely a good option. The other one I kind of wanted to highlight on was the Cincinnati Bengals over the Kansas City Chiefs. They're at Cincinnati. They're still underdogs. For everything we talked about earlier, we talked about Joe Burrow having that defense figured out. Jamar Chase coming back. Everything we said earlier in the show. Those are some of my favorites as well. Okay. What about a player prop that you were really eyeing that you really like?
Yeah, so let me go back into this Jacksonville game. I had a Ray. One caught
That's where mine are coming from too.
Huh?
That's where my plays are coming from too.
Yeah, I had it up a second ago. One of them had caught my. I've been going with the Amon-Ra over under receptions every week. So of course I do want to go with that again. Amon-Ra over 7.5 receptions. It's been the sweet spot here lately. And then what's the other one? Oh, Trevor Lawrence, over 1.5 pass TDs.
Okay, sure. My 2 plays here, both Travis Etienne plays here. One is rushing attempts sitting at 14.5. He didn't get, he went out with a little foot injury last week, but it came out that he could have been, or he was cleared to go back in, but the game was already pretty much, or they sat him for the rest of the game just because JaMychal Hasty was actually, he was doing some good stuff. So they said, hey, he's got the hot hand. No sense in rushing Travis Etienne back. But against some of these bottom defenses, for instance, Denver and Las Vegas, he had 24 carries against Denver. He had 28 carries against Las Vegas, both over 100 yards on the ground, which I can see something very similar happening here against Detroit. They have struggles stopping the run. Not as bad as they were at the beginning of the year, but they're still in that bottom half of the league there. My second play, and this is what I love about Caesar Sportsbook, right? I'm saying this strictly out of actual enjoyment, not because they're a sponsor, because they're not.
I wish.
Yeah, no shit. Caesar Sportsbook has a total rushing plus receiving yards category, and that's something I haven't really seen on a lot of other sports books. So give me Travis Etienne over 83 and a half total yards. That line seems incredibly low. Yeah, go ahead and give me that. That's going to be my lock of the week, actually. Okay, and then do you have a little 3 or 4 leg parlay that you have built out ready to go?
Yeah, so that was actually two of those were part of it. So we're going with the Amon-Ra over 7.5 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
We're going with let me pull them up on let me actually pull them up on Caesars here, so that way I can verify what the payout is. So I'm gonna pull this up real quick on my Caesars app. But so Trevor Lawrence with the over 1.5 touchdown passes. Let me pull it up here. Are you doing same game parlay?
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. I know I got burned by that last time. I said I wasn't gonna do it again, but we're going for it. Total receptions. There it is. Okay, so it was Amon-Ra over 7.5 receptions, Trevor Lawrence over 1.5 touchdown passes, and I just lost it. Oh yeah, so Zay Jones under 4.5 receptions.
Okay, for sure. Okay, so my parlay is going to be coming out of the Green Bay Chicago game. I just with all the circumstances of the entire rivalry and all that stuff, this is going to be the game I want to bet. Give me Randall Cobb over 2.5 receptions. Rodgers loves to go to Randall Cobb just when he's in a pinch. So yeah, go ahead and give me Randall Cobb there. Aaron Jones over 57.5 total rushing yards. I think is pretty much a lock. Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and Justin Fields over 0.5 interceptions. I love the talent that Justin Fields has, but I think with that shoulder injury, I think they're going to really limit him on what he can do this week. Them being the coaching staff, I think they're going to really tell him to try and be a little more conservative with that shoulder. And so I think that's going to put him in some situations to where he's not necessarily comfortable making that throw, but he's going to anyway because he doesn't want to get sacked, and that's gonna force an interception. So we do have another question here. Actually, we have a few questions. Godwin or Ken Walker full PPR?
It depends, I think, on. I would love to see the running backs and wide receivers, but give me Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, give me Kenneth Walker. I think that Rams defense is pretty much done for. So go ahead and give me Kenneth Walker. Okay, second part of the same question: Tua Tagovailoa or Justin Fields?
Tua or Fields?
Yeah.
Man, it's the matchup for Tua that gets me.
Yeah.
But with Fields being banged up, it's tough to know how he's going to be able to play. Give me Tua.
Yeah, give me Tua. Fields' shoulder scares the ever living shit out of me. So give me Tua in this matchup. Okay, next, Caden the Colts fan. Treylon Burks or Nico Collins? Didn't we have this exact question? We did.
Treylon.
And we said Treylon Burks. All right. Moving on. Brandon Ayuk or Allen Lazard?
I like Ayuk.
Yeah, give me Ayuk, especially if Debo's not playing. Lazard seems to have taken a backstage presence ever since Christian Watson really started to light it up.
Yep.
And so,
Yeah, with
give me
Debo
Brandon
being
Ayuk.
out,
Actually, even with
Ayuk
Debo
is
healthy,
there.
Brandon Ayuk leads the team in receiving yards. He's been Jimmy Garoppolo's favorite receiver. So give me Ayuk. I love the rapid fire here. Isaiah Pacheco or Zonovan Knight?
Man, it's PPR, so we know Pacheco's limited. I just don't. From Zonovan Knight, it hasn't been enough to know whether he can do that on a weekly basis. I know Pacheco's going to get his touches.
Yep.
So give me Pacheco.
Yeah. Give me Zonovan Knight. I think they're going to rely on him today, and he's going to get a full game. He's finally had a full week of practice to where he's the guy. None of that next man up mentality. It's going to be Zonovan Knight for me.
So what kind of game are you expecting from him, just out of curiosity?
Out of Zonovan?
Yeah.
So it's actually a good question because I realize I'm kind of talking about him as if he's going to be the RB1 this week, and he's not.
No, I'm wondering your thought process on that.
Let me take a look here. 15 carries, about 80, 85 on the ground, about three or four catches for about 30 yards.
That'll give you a solid week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, maybe even sneak a touchdown in there if one of those is right, and you got yourself a solid fantasy day out of that.
That's what with him you have that upside, that PPR.
Yeah, absolutely.
Upside that you don't have with Pacheco.
Right. Like Pacheco could easily go 15 carries for 105 yards, but he's gonna get maybe one target for like 2 yards, and just like that, like 11 points is still fine, for like an emergency flex start, I guess, but it's not what you really are looking for from a team that is supposed to be competing. You know what I mean?
I still like Pacheco,
and I think Kansas City's going to have their hands full trying to keep up with Cincinnati this week. So I don't see the running game really being a full prowess for Kansas City this week. So shit, I might even take Jerick McKinnon over Isaiah Pacheco this week.
Calm down. My pick is still Pacheco.
I'm not saying I will. I'm just saying, like, don't be surprised if Jerick McKinnon gets about 4 or 5 catches.
Yeah, it's the only thing Jerick McKinnon is out there for nowadays is catching on occasion and pass blocking, because Pacheco ain't learned how to pass block yet.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to John's question earlier about the waiver wires, Jerick McKinnon, I guess, like if he can get you 5 catches for 40 yards, like that's 9 points. Like
I don't think he's been doing that lately though. Like if I go to McKinnon's stats here, I pull him up, I don't think we're gonna be seeing in
these
there.
past 2 weeks. No, week 9 and 10, he did have 6 catches each, 1 for 40 yards, 1 for 56 yards. He did have 6 targets last week, and he does have a pretty favorable end of season run here. So he's got Cincinnati this week, but he's got Denver next week, Houston the week after, Seattle, and then Denver again. So
yeah. His snap share is so all over the place. He's
I agree.
62,
I was saying more like if you're in a pinch
34
kind of thing. So yeah, there's that. Was there anything else you wanted before we wrap it up? I wanted to kind of wrap it up just a little bit early so we can make sure we get our bets in, make sure we get our lineups all set and everything. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
Not for me. Happy birthday to me.
Yes, happy belated birthday to Justin. His birthday was this past weekend.
That's today, actually. We just celebrated it yesterday.
as a birthday gift, I'm trying to give you the vibes for Houston to beat Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns this week. So
What about fantasy vibes to beat you?
no, absolutely not. You're reaching. Well, we got ourselves a little fucking toilet bowl matchup this week, huh?
Yeah,
4-8
yeah.
versus 3-9.
Battle for draft positioning. I need to knock you down a peg.
It's all right. I have what 3-4 rookies in my starting lineup this week. I'm counting Travis Etienne as a rookie because
I don't want to talk about rookies and starting lineups, okay? You've seen my team.
I just saw who you're starting at running back too. Yikes.
Calm down, calm down.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's all we got, we'll go ahead and we'll sign off here. We'll keep an eye on the comments here as the outro is playing, just in case we get those last couple of questions in there. But from all of us here at Cheesy Corn Sports, we'd like to thank you all for watching. If you like the content, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure that bell icon is turned on to get notified of whenever Cheesy Corn is going live. At this time, we are still just doing our once a week. We have been exploring the option of bringing additional content throughout the week as well to you guys. So make sure to be on the lookout for that as well. Until next time, tune in next week. We will see you guys then.